Hello, everybody. Welcome to RISmedia's Content Solutions Agent Webinar Series. I'm Burl Workman, co-founder and CEO of Workman Success Systems, and I'm excited to host today's call and really excited for the unbelievable guests we have to help you take your social media strategy and move past your competition with a whole next generation way of looking at things. We've got phenomenal guests here today, and let me just give you a little bit of some ground rules for the call. First of all, because of the dynamic amount of content that we have to present today, I'm going to ask you to type your questions in using the questions toolbar on your GoToWebinar control panel. So if everybody will just identify on their GoToWebinar control panel, a little place where it says questions. If you have a question, you can simply type your questions in that. During the call, we'll monitor your questions and do our best to ask the questions of the presenters. Also, stay on the call till the end of the call because we're going to give you a link to a website where you can download some extremely valuable content. And that'll be happening right at the end. So pay attention throughout the call as we give you some valuable downloads that will help you with your social media strategy. As always, we're always grateful to have fantastic partners that are focused on helping you be more successful in your real estate practice to help us bring these webinars to you. First, I'd like to introduce Bob Patterson from Homes.com. Bob's the national broker consultant. Homes.com is a great partner of RISmedia and a great partner of the real estate industry. We have a lot of agents that generate a lot of revenue using Homes.com resources, and they've got a lot of social media content that makes it easier for you to run a social media strategy as well. Bob, welcome to the call today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, Bob, tell us what's happening, what's new and exciting with Homes.com.
Well, our numbers on unique viewers coming to Homes.com has made a big difference with us. We continue to strive towards getting more qualified individuals who are coming to Homes.com. We're looking at homes. That's the big thing that we go after, and that is people who are looking for homes for sale, not just real estate. They're looking to purchase a home. So it's a big difference with us with regard to the type of person that actually comes into Homes.com and starts their home search at this point in time. Get a lot of page views.
I was going to say, with a name like Homes.com, that's pretty much the best URL in real estate. You know that, right?
You would think that it's kind of, we show up in organic ranking on the search engines. So, you know, it's kind of a crapshoot. Person gets on Google, they type in, you know, Atlanta, Georgia homes for sale. They might see our competitors on there, but they also see Homes.com. They go, oh, Homes.com. That makes a lot of sense. So the value is there just from that alone. And as you see on the screen, probably 90% of our page views are consumers actively searching for their next home. That's what we're going after. 76% of Homes.com visitors are not working with a real estate professional at this point in time. Another bonus there. It's new folks looking to buy a home. And of course, one of the things that we also provide at Homes.com is the ability for you to get leads at specific zip codes. So you can call us up at Homes.com. You can ask for a specific zip code, see if it's available, which a lot of times they're not because we've got a lot of people buy zip code leads. And we'd certainly look it up for you. It's a great value. And Homes.com, as I said, we're getting 14 million unique views a month to Homes.com.
That's awesome.
And our quality of our leads is, again, we go back to people that are looking for homes to buy. Not looking for real estate, not looking for everything else. It's homes for sale. So consumers that come into Homes.com, we typically provide a much quality or more qualified or quality lead as to what we provide to real estate agents and brokers who buy our products.
And we're hearing that from the market as well, Bob, that a lot of the clients that are coming through Homes.com, a lot of leads that are coming through are a higher converted client, and we commend you for your continued approach at making the experience better and better, not only for consumers but also for agents who engage in your services, and we appreciate your partnership on these webinars.
Thanks, absolutely. We appreciate you guys doing it.
So the next partner that is helping us put the webinar on today is a really cool company called Outbound Engine. And let me just introduce real quick Andrew Glass, the Director of Industry Outreach for Outbound Engine. Andrew, thank you for being here and thank you for your partnership.
Hey, thanks a lot, Burl. Really appreciate you guys offering us the opportunity to be here today. Just a little bit about myself and Outbound Engine. As the Director of Industry Outreach for Outbound Engine, my main responsibility is really to go out and teach small businesses how to use the internet to reach more customers. And what that means is that I work with a lot of associations, chambers of commerce, and of course partners like Homes.com, Workman Success Systems. And as you'll see on the next slide, I want to just give you just a little bit of information about Outbound Engine and what it is that we do. At Outbound Engine, it's our mission to help local businesses thrive. And we do that by supporting those local businesses through content marketing across email, social media, and the mobile web. And we've been doing that now for over 6 years. And it's been our pleasure to really help local businesses connect with more of their customers by extending their customer service online and helping them spread more word of mouth about their business. Now, we're based in downtown Austin, Texas, and we really are the only full-service, 100% do-it-for-you marketing platform for small businesses in the country. And we've worked with thousands of local businesses. And we were just recently named to the Inc. 500 as one of the fastest-growing companies in the entire country. And what we do is, as you'll see on the next slide, is that we make this the idea of marketing your business online very, very simple. We're creating all the content for you. We're personally designing, testing, and automating that process of sending out Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn posts, and also content marketing through newsletters in your email. One of the other biggest problems that we've seen with real estate agents and brokers is trying to figure out, after you've sent out this content marketing, who are the people that you should be following up with. And we're able to identify who those hot leads are, the people that you should follow up with, set up an appointment and get some coffee with. Also, who are the warmer leads? By identifying people, how they're interacting with your content on Facebook or Twitter, maybe even LinkedIn, and letting you know who are the people that you should keep on your radar so that you know who's going to be your next client down the road. And of course, we specialize in creating referrals for you. As we know, your best customers, your best source of new customers are your existing and past clients. So we have a lot of really great tools out there to help you spread word of mouth, create referrals, and to get some new business.
It's awesome, and I encourage all of you to go to Outbound Engine and really look at what they do and see how they can help you with your business. They're a great partner. They're making a big impact with a lot of companies. And one of the things that I really like about them is they're not real estate specific. They're business specific. And the more you think and act like a business instead of just creating a job for yourself, the more successful you'll be with your online strategy. So thanks, Andrew, for being here. We appreciate your support. So let's jump into it. All right, everybody, I want you to check your seats. We're going to look for your seat belts. We're going to have to strap in and buckle up because we're getting ready to crank it up when we talk about our social media strategy. I want to first introduce Vivian Wagner. Vivian was introduced to me by one of my private consulting clients who does $130 to $200 million a year in sales and had gone through a process of, interviewing and looking for someone to help them get the message of their contributor giving out to the marketplace. And it was really interesting because Vivian was referred to this client by our other guest who's going to be our second speaker today, Cindy Ambule. And it's funny, it's really fun to see how top performers are also the biggest givers. In these top agent webinars, we generally highlight top agents and what they're doing, but after my interview with Vivian, and I really got into a deep dive of what she does for her clients and how she does it, I thought it would be a huge travesty to not introduce her to the industry on one of our RISMedia calls. So Vivian, I'm excited that you're here. Vivian Wagner is the founder of Houndstooth Media Group. She's a social media and content strategist and is going to share with us how the consumer's thinking and behaving and how we can attract them through our social media strategy. Vivian, welcome to the call today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for that nice welcome.
Well, when I meet cool people, I want to share them with everybody, and I think you're one of the cool people that I've met in 2016, and I look forward to a long, mutually beneficial relationship. I think there's a lot of things that we'll do with each other's businesses that are going to help us grow. So tell me how do you become a social media content strategist? How does that happen? I didn't see that on my college course curriculum.
It happened completely by accident, 100% by accident. I started a blog back in 2008. Somebody suggested that I should do that, and I'm a mom and I don't scrapbook. But I have a writing background, and so I started writing funny stories that my kids did, And I hit publish, and I didn't even understand that that was actually going out onto the internet, and people could see it. That's how much I didn't know what I was doing. But over the course of time, as my blog developed and I realized that I could make money blogging, my focus shifted from writing stories about my kids to providing value to people out there. I have a DIY home decorating blog, recipes, that kind of thing. And I spent all of my time figuring out how to leverage social media, how to drive traffic to my website, because bloggers get paid when people come to their website. And over the course of 8 years, I've watched social media change. I've watched platforms really take off, and others that were supposed to be great just kind of fall by the wayside. And I've learned to pivot and make sure that I'm still driving traffic. And in the course of that, started realizing that I could help other people do the same thing for their websites or for their brand, because individuals are their brand. And in the meantime, I've developed Houndstooth Media Group. I have a team of people, all of whom are staffed by, they're professional bloggers as well. And so we kind of occupy a strange little space in the internet where we're treating content, I think, a little differently, and our clients are benefiting from it.
I love that concept. You know, when I first started really getting into social media, I kind of felt like all Facebook was for people who didn't have very many deep or meaningful relationships, that were reaching out to people that weren't very nice to them in high school to see if they changed their mind and wanted to be their friends.
Yeah, and it probably did start out like that a little bit, but now it's a very useful tool for marketing. But Facebook is a very tricky platform. I've joked that it's kind of like a mean girl in junior high who will eat lunch with you one day and then ignore you the next. You never know what Facebook's going to do, and it changes its algorithm. It changes what it likes. It changes what it will reward frequently. And you have to stay on top of that. But if Facebook's the only thing you're doing, you're really missing out on a holistic marketing plan.
Vivian, Stephen Covey says in his book, 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, that you have to begin with the end in mind. And I love your first slide because you make it really clear what the goals of social media are. So help me understand these two main purposes, these two main goals of social media.
Sure. Just like you were saying a moment ago, that you thought Facebook was just kind of just for playing around. I think a lot of people, when they hear social media, they think that it's sort of fluff and really some extra thing that you do when you should be working. But it's actually quantifiable. It should drive traffic to your website, which you can track, and it should be building brand awareness, which you can also track through growth of engagement on your platforms and through your follower numbers.
So when you say you can track it, let me be specific about that. How do I track the value of that increased engagement?
Oh, well, if you have any analytics on your actually, if you want to go to the next slide, I can show you, and then we can maybe come back to value in a minute. But this is from the back end of a client's website, and this is like a year's worth of traffic. And if you have analytics, or in this case, this is a WordPress site, we have Jetpack analytics on here, which are much more user-friendly and much easier to see and read. You can see that the top traffic, where people are coming from, you want it to be search engines. That's organic search. That means that the content on your site is what people are looking for. But if you look next, the next 3 traffic referrers are social media.
Interesting.
And that's literally some Facebook post or something on Twitter. If you have a link to your website and you send that out onto the internet via social media, if that social media comes back to your website, that is traffic.
That's really cool. Now this is different than analytics. This is called Jetpack?
Yes, Google Analytics is, I'm not a tech person, and Google Analytics, you might only want a teaspoonful of information, but it'll give you 2 quarts. And you have to sift through all of that information. It's very hard to find out what exactly you're looking for. And for our purposes for this webinar, I wanted it simple. And Jetpack is simple. Where did the traffic come from? Here you go.
I love that. What does this slide show us?
Okay, this slide shows an individual listing, and you can see those spikes, those blue spikes. Those are visitors to that listing, specifically a listing as opposed to the whole website, which is great because you can see that those spikes correlate with a Facebook post, with an Instagram, with a blog post about the listing. Anything you're doing to promote that listing that you send out on social media, you want to see that traffic coming back to that listing. That's eyeballs on your listing. So it's quantifiable.
And so are you doing something on these spikes? What's happening when these spikes are having those big? Is that a blog post, or is that a new listing, or is that, what are you doing to create those big?
All of this right here is the same listing. This particular address in Pacific Palisades. It's all one listing that is on my client's website. And we do an Instagram. And when you have your, we'll get to it later, but when you have your Instagram, you have your link to your website or your profile page on your brokerage's site. You have that listed in your profile on your Instagram account. So people can click it and then find what you're talking about. But those spikes correlate with promotion online.
It's really cool that you can see that so individually. You can see what's actually happening with it. Do you want me to go back to the value slide, or do you want me to go forward?
Yeah, if you could real quickly go back to that. There you go. Okay. What's important to keep in mind with regard to website traffic, the higher your website traffic, the better your site will do in the search rankings. And Bob was just talking about people typing in something to search for a home and homes.com coming up. You want to be coming up in those search rankings. And the more traffic coming to your site, the more important you are to Google. Google is in the business of providing search results. They want to please people. So if your site's doing well, you rise in the search ranking. Value from social media also means you have happier clients because they see that you have a strong social media game. They see that you have, eyeballs on their listing. And it also can expand your network. It's a great way to meet other colleagues in your city, to connect with potential clients. It's just, there's a lot that you can do with social media, and I think people forget that sometimes.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And there's, people move, and they move from market to market. So not just expanding your clients, but expanding your network to other agents that can refer in and out. They're going to look for you online, and if they find you, then you have a much higher likelihood of actually earning that business. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, exactly. And then with regard to messaging opportunities, you mentioned our mutual client earlier on in the webinar, and that particular client, it's very important to him that he be able to express that they are an organization that really gives back, that they're charitable. And the best way to get that message across and to tell his story without constantly talking about yourself is via social media. You can craft your message by sharing content that is important to you. It doesn't even have to be your content. By sharing, a Red Cross blood drive and where signups are, you're conveying that you're interested in that. You're conveying that it's important to you and that it's part of your company culture without constantly talking about yourself. So there's a lot of opportunity to craft your message via social media.
I totally agree with that. I'm going to go back to your next slide. A lot of people focus on Facebook and LinkedIn, and you're seeing more and more on Twitter. I think Jimmy Fallon's had a lot to do with that, but we don't having a strong focus on Pinterest, but yet that's a big part of your platform and what you promote. Talk to me about a little bit about Pinterest and why it's so critical as part of our social strategy.
Absolutely. A little background on Pinterest, if you just want to think of it in terms of, because not a lot of people are familiar with it necessarily, especially if they don't use it. 100 million users a month are. The basic concept is, remember back in the day, if you were sitting in a doctor's waiting room and you're reading a magazine and there's something interesting in it you'd like to save for later, what'd you do? You tore the magazine page out and you took it home with you. And then you probably lost the magazine page and you never made that recipe or bought the whatever else. Pinterest is the online version of tearing a magazine page out of the magazine at your doctor's office. You don't have to have Pinterest, but anybody who has a Pinterest account can pin anything anywhere on the internet, including from you. So just because you don't have a Pinterest account doesn't mean somebody can't come to your website, take an image, and pin it to their Pinterest boards. And those Pinterest boards all lead back to the original website that image came from. It's basically guests are coming for dinner whether you like them or not, so you might as well have some food ready, if that makes sense.
That's a great analogy. I love the doctor's office, and I love the guests are coming for dinner. You might as well have some food ready. And 100 million monthly users is no small number, and it's something that we need to pay attention to. Why do you think that in real estate you haven't seen a huge amount of agents really understanding what to do with Pinterest?
I'm not sure. I think because there's such an entrenched culture of how you market your listings. You share it on Facebook. You buy some print ads. You leave postcards on a doorstep. This platform, I think a lot of people consider it as something maybe frivolous and non-important, and a bunch of housewives just sitting around pinning pictures of cakes and cupcakes. But it's actually not the case. In fact, I think they're saying a third of new signups are men. So there's a lot of men using it. But it's also a search engine. So people are going to Pinterest first. If they want a recipe, they go to Pinterest first, and they type in chicken enchiladas or whatever. They're using it as a search engine instead of just going to Google. So because they're using it as a search engine, and because it can drive traffic directly back to your site, and because it has potential to have your images go viral, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So it's definitely something that can get your brand out there, and it can drive traffic to your site. This
is an interesting stat, yeah.
Okay, so this slide, we did a blog post for Cindy Anviel's site, basically about Los Cabos and where to stay, what to do, just sort of a roundup of fun things you could do, restaurants you could go to. And at the very end of that blog post, we put in a listing for she had a property down in Cabo that was for sale. And so I was able to tie it into real estate through there. You know, by the way, if you'd like to ever purchase a home in Cabo, here you go. That pin it's been pinned thousands of times, and it drives traffic to her website on a daily basis. In fact, I think the next slide might, well, that explains how a pin can go viral. If you want to just take a moment and look at that. Somebody can pin something and maybe 30 people will see it, but as it gets repinned and shared with more people, all of those people have an opportunity to see the image from your website and to drive traffic to your website. So it's kind of a big deal.
That is fascinating. So you don't really know the reach you have. The idea is to continually post something that may have value or interest to others.
Exactly, exactly.
And I think this is what you were looking for.
This is what I was looking for. So this is just a little snapshot. You don't need to have a Pinterest account, as I said, because people are going to pin your images you want to. You can't necessarily stop them, nor should you. But Cindy has a Pinterest account, and she has it set up as Pinterest for Business, so if you have Pinterest, I recommend you setting it up Pinterest for Business, because then you have access to analytics. And the analytics for her Pinterest account, we were able to get a little snapshot and say, okay, we want to sort this by how many clicks from these pins are actually going back to Cindy's website. And this was just from I think a 30-day period, and it's only part of the list because it's a screenshot there. But you can see that this pin, which was a year old at the time that the screenshot was taken, this blog post had been published for a full year. It still was a year later sending hundreds a month to her website. Now keep in mind, even if
those are some pretty big numbers.
Yes, and what an impression means is how many people saw that pin.
And then if they save it or like it, or it doesn't tell you if they shared it. How do you know if they share it?
I think if we slid the screenshots cropped too small, too tightly, but I think you could see another column that shows repins. And I think that's what saves are pins.
I think it's fascinating. Pinterest is not one of the social media platforms that I've really had any experience with, and this to me opens up a whole new way of driving traffic. I love it.
Well, and keep in mind this little number. They say an average lifespan of a tweet is about 24 minutes. The average lifespan of a pin is like 151,000 minutes. That's how long it is out there and relevant. And then if it gets repinned by the right person, it takes off again.
Okay, say that again because I didn't get it.
They say the average lifespan of a tweet that you send out on Twitter is about 24 minutes, and then it's gone, and it really can't help you again. The average lifespan of a pin on Pinterest is about 150,000 minutes.
Wow.
And as we saw in that graphic with regard to the viral pin, you need the right person to pin it again, and then that 150 minutes or 150,000 minutes starts all over again.
Wow.
So it really is the gift that keeps on giving. A personal note: I have a blog post on my website from I think July of 2011, and it's how to clean stove burners with ammonia. And it was a throwaway post I did at the last minute because I didn't have anything ready for the next day. That thing has been pinned more than 1 million times. It sent more than 3 million visitors to my website, and it still sends me traffic to this day, 5 years later. It's my #1 source of traffic for my website. And I don't have a cleaning website. It's just a fluke.
You know, one of the big challenges that I think I know that goes through my mind as a real estate agent is where do you find the time to come up with and generate, you know, content that has meaning, that people will that will be unique, that people will want to repost like that.
It is very time consuming, and you need to make sure that you're creating good content. You want to share something that has value. What is somebody going to be searching for? So, you know, there's a lot of real estate websites that I see, and they'll do a wrap up of something that's on a calendar. They'll say, oh, you know, next week is the 4th of July parade, and that's kind of it. Their blog post is more like reporting the news, which is fine, but you also need to make sure that you're adding in what's called evergreen content. And those are the things that people will be searching for on a regular basis all the time. It's evergreen. It's always in season. For example, that pin about Cabo San Lucas. People always are going to travel to Mexico. They're always going to want to know where to stay, what to do. They're always going to want to know what are the top 10 Mexican food restaurants in Los Angeles. People search for that. They type into a search bar looking for that. So if they're typing it into a search bar and you potentially can be found and offer them that content, that benefits your website and it benefits your brand.
Got it. Here's an example of somebody coming up with some content using one of their listings and actually making it so it looks good. Tell us what they did here.
Right. Okay. So I did this as an example for your listeners today that, okay, so you don't have a blog and you don't have time to blog. Fine. You still have listings on your website, and most listing photos are oriented horizontally, which that's best for listing photos, but it's not best for Pinterest. Pinterest, you want something to be vertical. It takes up more real estate on their home page, and it's easier to be seen. So all you want to do is take one of your listing photos, you want to crop it, and you want to add some text to the top of it. So I think this beautiful herringbone tile floor and this gorgeous tub, it's awesome. It's perfect for Pinterest. I took it to, there's a site called Canva, C-A-N-V-A, and they've got designer text like this. You just pop it in, you change the wording, you save it, and you can then take this slide that is from your listing, and if you go to the next slide, you can go on Pinterest, and if you don't have a Pinterest account, I guarantee you one of your friends does, and they will do this for you if you ask them nicely. You can have them natively upload a pin. Instead of pinning it from a website somewhere, you click the little plus sign on the left, save a pin, you upload that pin, then you can go in the back and edit the pin, and you can send it to a board called Beautiful Bathrooms, and then you write it up using hashtags and what's it about, and then you paste in the link to your listing. So somebody's going to find that gorgeous bathroom shot. They're going to pin it to their bathroom. You know, they're bored about bathroom ideas. And by the way, design ideas, one of the #1 things that are pinned on Pinterest. So homes are perfect for that. If you have a beautifully staged home, pin it. But you can put in your website URL, and then traffic comes to your website, to that listing.
So it's not as complicated as many might think. It's a matter of being interesting, sharing what you have, pinning it, and making it available to see. What are boards? There's a lot of different boards out there. How do you find boards that are appropriate for what you're going to?
You can create your own boards. There's a board for everything that people have that's on their personal accounts. I personally have boards for recipes or design ideas or holidays. You can set up your personal board any way you'd like. You can pin images to multiple boards if they're appropriate. And if you don't have your own Pinterest account, you still, as I said, I promise you know somebody who has a Pinterest account, and they can pin images for you if you ask them.
It's fascinating. So, you know, I was telling my kids, you know, did you see how many likes I got on Facebook on something? And my kids tell me, Dad, nobody looks at Facebook anymore.
Well, some people do look at Facebook, but you're talking different demographics. Different demographics, different lifespan of how long something's relevant. But if you really want to go where there's engagement, and the hot platform right now, especially for real estate, it is Instagram.
So let's talk about Instagram.
Yeah. There are 400 million active monthly users, and 46% of them are millennials.
Those are the kids I'm talking about.
Yep.
So share with me a little bit how Instagram works and how we'd use it in a real estate environment.
Sure. Well, we've got the slide here. So let's first, if you have an Instagram account, can I just say, please set it up properly. Use your first and last name if you can. If that handle's taken, at least include your first and last name and the company that you're working with in your bio, and then link to your website or your profile page. So I've got 2 examples on the top of bios that are set up properly with proper links, and then the one on the bottom, this poor person, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, I don't know if they have a job, I don't know if they have a website, I don't know anything about them, nor can I. So it does them no good for their branding.
Well, and their followers, you can tell there's a big difference in how many people are following them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So when you're basically curating content for Instagram, and what you're doing is you're sharing part of yourself. Again, it goes back to messaging. You would never in a million years go to a cocktail party where you don't know everyone and walk to each person and shove your business card in their hand and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, I sell real estate, nice to meet you, on and on and on. It's off-putting. People don't respond to that. They don't connect with that. It's a sales pitch. Your Instagram should not be a sales pitch. Your Instagram feed should be a reflection of who you are, what you're interested in. You need to be authentic. That's the #1 rule with Instagram. It's vital.
And so with the 2 different screenshots you're showing me, this is a before and after. Explain to me what the big differences are. Tell me what I'm seeing different between these 2.
So if you're looking at the site on the left, or the feed on the left, you're seeing an interesting mix visually. You're seeing accomplishments. You're seeing different composition of photos. You're seeing detail. You're seeing faraway shots. You're seeing some family pictures in there. You're seeing a lot that tells you a bit more about the person who owns this Instagram feed. You can tell, this is Cindy's feed, obviously, and she'll be speaking about it in a little bit, but there's a good mix of photos. And if you scrolled through more, you would get a sense of who she is as a mom and a wife and a friend and a real estate agent, and her accomplishments and the things she likes to do. All of those things help clients and followers get to know her. Because let's be honest, anybody who's working with you expects you to be a good negotiator, expects you to know your market, expects you to be a competent professional. What they can't necessarily tell is whether or not they're going to have chemistry with you. And this is a good way to start indicating what kind of chemistry they might expect to have with you. The people you don't want to work with will weed themselves out. They won't even approach you because it'll be clear that there might not be a connection. And that should be fine. Because do you want to work with difficult people, or do you want to work with people that you'll have this good rapport with and be able to give them what they want and great customer service? Chemistry is important, and this is the first step to online chemistry and whether or not somebody's going to have it with you. And if you look at the feed on the right, where I've blurred out everything that I possibly could that could be an identifying mark for these poor people, this is absolutely what you should not do.
Because it's just all about them selling stuff.
Right. Apparently the only thing that you need to know about these people is they sell real estate. You don't know anything else about them. And honestly, you kind of don't want to, because it's like, yeah, I get it, you're a realtor. Next. There's nothing compelling here. There's nothing drawing you in.
Yeah, you're right. When I look at Cindy Ambul's page, or what do you call it? Do you call it a wall?
A feed.
When I look at her feed, I see that she loves horses. I see she loves her family. I see she loves cooking. I see all of these things that are interesting that make you want to connect with her. That's a very good comparison of how to do it right. And it's they're pretty subtle differences, but they make a big difference in the emotional experience that I have when I look at these two pages.
Yes, that is. And one likes engagement and the other doesn't. And engagement is important. Engagement's where you're going to make those connections.
I love that. And so how do hashtags work with Instagram and how everybody's using their hashtag? How does that all apply?
Okay, hashtags are vital. And you forgive me if I'm covering ground that everyone knows by now, but I still run into people who are like, I don't understand what is a hashtag. How do I use it? Or I see people using a hashtag as if they're quotation marks. A hashtag is simply a topic of conversation. And so if you want to get in on a certain conversation, or you'd like your post to be included in a more general topic, you use hashtags. Now, for Instagram, what's really helpful with hashtags is to use a large hashtag, meaning that there's a ton of people using it. Like, for example, if you use the hashtag architecture, there's about 31 million hashtag architecture Instagrams out there. That's a huge pool of conversation to be jumping into, and you might get lost in there. So you also need to include smaller hashtags. Like, for example, for Cindy, we use the hashtag the agency RE. That's their company hashtag, and that's got about 3,000 people using that. And then you want to dial it back even more, and if you're promoting one of your properties, create a custom hashtag for your property. For example, hashtag 123 Main Street. By creating that hashtag, you're able to really close in on just pictures of that particular property. So if you have somebody who's coming to your feed and they're coming across photos that they like, and they see hashtag 123 Main, they can click their finger on that hashtag and see every other photo that's been posted with regard to that property. You can show your clients, look, here's how many we've done at a glance. People can track it, and nobody else is going to be using that hashtag and sort of co-opt it and take it from you and jump on it and kind of muddy the water unless they're promoting that same property. So you get into small, medium, large conversations that way, and that's all it is a topic of conversation, but it's very important.
So do you buy followers as well as get them organically? Do you do it both ways? What's your strategy on getting some exposure so that you feel like your efforts in social media have value and are reaching more eyeballs?
Never, ever, ever, ever buy followers on Instagram, ever. It'll screw up your metric. What's considered a good rule of thumb as far as engagement is 3%. Now, if you have and the way you get that number is you take the number of likes and average number of comments, and you divide it by the number of followers you have. So anything 3% or above is outstanding. It's that concept of, would you rather, if there's a billboard by the side of a freeway, Do you think seeing a sign for a restaurant that 50 million other people have passed, that billboard, or your best friend saying, oh, we tried this place last night, it's fantastic, you should go? There's a trust there. There's engagement there. You have a conversation there. If you're buying followers, you're basically putting up a billboard, and that message is irrelevant to those people. And it skews your metrics, so you don't know how you're really doing. So never buy followers.
Absolutely true. Yeah, interesting, because I've heard people say that they want to do that. Vivian, there's so much information. We could probably talk for another hour on different social media strategies, but I want to share a little bit of what Cindy's doing from her perspective, and she can kind of talk about how she's engaged you to do some of the things that's enhanced her strategy. Are you okay hanging out with us for just a minute till we get to a point where we can ask some questions? All right, thank you so much for sharing with us. I want to next just jump right in, and I want to introduce Cindy Ambuel from the agency in Los Angeles, California. And I met Cindy we actually had a few text messages back and forth, and it was interesting when I was talking to Vivian about doing this call. I said, you know, let's highlight someone, let's talk to someone who's doing a good social strategy. She says, well, how about Cindy Ambuel? I thought, well, that's great. We've been trying to connect. And so I had an opportunity to do a little bit of research on Cindy, look into her business, look into her social strategy, what she was doing. And I have to tell you, Cindy, that immediately I was taken in by and engaged by your personality online. And you became somebody that was very, very interesting to me as a business professional. And also I could see lots of areas where we would connect as parents. And so I appreciate what you're doing with your social media strategy, and it certainly has done a great job for your business. And if I can just give everybody just a little bit of background on Cindy, she's got 22 years as an actress and decided that she wanted to get out of the hustle bustle of being an actress and raise her family, but still wanted to have the interaction and had a strong business mind, so got into real estate. I mean, she wasn't just a wannabe actress. She appeared on Seinfeld and Frasier and Jag and a lot of other great shows. This year, her real estate business, her own real estate company, has done over $80 million in closed transactions in 2016. She's on target to have a phenomenal year. She's a successful real investor in buying apartments. She started in the worst real estate market in 2007 and has built her business up. She lives in LA with her husband Don and her 7 boys, and it's not fair, Cindy, and I have to tell you this, that both you, your husband, and all 7 of your kids are just good looking. You have a great looking family, so congratulations. I don't know how you teach that.
Well, that's the most flattering way of starting this. Thank you. I'm quite proud of that. Thank you.
And they look like just a great family. So tell me, first of all, why social media was so important to you. Why is that something that you gravitated to quickly when you came into real estate?
Well, it's funny because it wasn't something I gravitated to immediately when I started in real estate because it wasn't that well understood. It wasn't that well known. It was, if you think about it, back then, and I say back then, it was, it wasn't that long ago, but so much has changed in that short time. And back then, I would have buyers and sellers call me because they saw me in the LA Times, or I'd have buyers calling because they referred to a local newspaper here in my area, for example, the Palisades Post, or again, the LA Times, and they would call me to say, hey, Cindy, we see these properties are open this weekend, can you show them to me? And that's how it was done, or I sent out paper postcards. And very, very quickly, it became clear to me that times are changing, and my consumer is changing, my clients are changing. They're so much more sophisticated than ever before and educated. They're so knowledgeable, not only just about their area, but globally because of social media and the internet. And so it makes them so aware by the time they even call me. I was having buyers call me saying, Cindy, I'm loving this area, but I see the crime rate is so-and-so and the school so-and-so. They have all the information at their fingertips by the time they even call me about property. So it became quickly apparent that there was a demand for it and that I really did need to have a better understanding of it. My generation, I didn't have an understanding of it, hence my reason for partnering up with Vivian. But I immediately saw that the direction of our consumer, our buyer, it's younger and younger. We'll get into that in our next slide, and then again. But they're younger and younger, and they're online. They're not in the paper as much. 5% 5% of consumers are reading the ads for a total of 5 seconds, where they have their cell phones and they're online on their computer all day long. It's always on them. So it became really clear to me that I needed to understand how they were shopping. I needed to understand their lifestyle, their needs, their mindset, and there was no denying it. There are many of my colleagues who are still fighting it tooth and nail, and I've spoken at many of our office meetings about get on board, guys, or it's going to leave you behind. You need to get on board, or you're just either jump on board or be pushed aside, because you must understand this changing market, and it is so relevant. It's so relevant not only to real estate, but to all businesses. The way we book vacations now, everything is done online. So it's just important, and Vivian has really just schooled me very well on the importance of it, and I'm reaping the benefits of all of her knowledge.
I love this slide where you say social media is not a tool for the Gen Yers, it's their way of life. They don't think of it as like a tool, it's just how they live.
100%. There's clear demonstration of the huge potential for social media marketing and to increase sales, but there is a lack of understanding on how to achieve those results and how to use the tools. And people have to understand it, because our customer lives by it. It is their lifestyle. They wouldn't know what to do without their phone. It is not a tool. Clearly, it is their way of life, from ordering food to knowing where to eat, to knowing where to vacation, where to shop, where to live, where to put their kids in school, jobs. It's all done by not only the internet, but through social media and the interaction. As Vivian so eloquently said, it's all about engagement. And if I post something that's relevant to my viewers or my customers or my friends online, whomever, and I post something that they can connect to, they immediately know that they're going to start to engage with me. They're going to engage, I'm going to engage back, and it is a way for them to know you. I say it even with my sons. As you mentioned, I have 7. So it's amazing to me, the teenagers and older, when they're telling me that they've met somebody, and I'll say, oh, what's she like? Well, they haven't really met her, but he's been on social media with her. He's been Instagramming with her, and this is how they're getting to know people. Well, I want somebody to know me. If they're going to trust me, if they're going to trust me with their nest egg, their home, their investment, to relocate their family, to pick a neighborhood that's safe where I see the lifestyle suits them, I need them to know me. I want them to know me. And social media, especially I have to say Instagram, has been amazing for me in the ability to have, I'm an open book, and it's allowed them to feel like they know me. And by going onto my Instagram, yeah, like I said, I have nothing to hide. I want people to know me, to feel like they know me, so therefore they can trust me. Trust equals business, right? And it's partnership. And they'll come on my Instagram and they see my family, like you said, and my lifestyle and my hobbies, and they see the homes that I sell. And I'm not hiding anything. I'm not holding anything back. I'm not just a picture on a billboard or on a bus stop somewhere or in a printed ad. There's a whole life that they're getting to know. And that is how they live their life. It's not a tool. It's actually a lifestyle, and it's important for them to know mine.
So Cindy, let me ask you a question. A lot of listeners are thinking about their average buyer and seller and how they might be in an older age demographic or in a certain price range. Tell us a little bit about your market, your average sales price, and what the client you're looking for is.
Well, we're seeing obviously the consumer is younger and younger with the Gen Y. The millennials, you know, they really have, as I wrote on the one slide, changed the real estate landscape. They are the first generation to be buying $1 million homes as their first home, more so than any other generation. So we have to pay attention to that. I think the baby boomers as well, if you think about how they purchase, they're now sizing down. You know, they're downsizing to a smaller home, and they're passing on money down to their kids or their grandkids, again, benefiting the Gen Y. So we really do need to look at what they're buying, but we need to pay attention to all demographics, because one truly does affect the other. If I'm selling, which actually a perfect example right now, I'm selling one in Brentwood, and it's an older woman, so phenomenal. She's lived there forever with her husband. She's going to be moving, and I'm selling it to a very young couple. So although I'm selling the house from a woman of one generation, I have marketed it to a young family because it's in the school district. It provides the location for walking distance to all the schools and shops. So I think that it's extremely short-sighted to only focus on one demographic. You have to see how the whole palette, how it affects everybody, and pay attention to that, how one will trigger the other. But there is no question that the younger generation is dominating our market. Our sales, our purchases, our value, our costs, interest rates, all of it. They all are. They're very savvy. And when I say interest rates, they'll double app with different banks and they'll shop each other. And they can do that because of the information provided online until they get a better rate. So they're very, very smart. We have to be aware of all of that when addressing them. And it's very important for me in my social media to let them know I understand that. And I have my finger on the pulse of that, and I can connect with them.
Absolutely, absolutely true, and that's a really savvy insight that you just shared in not just working a single demographic, but understanding how one affects another. I think that's very sage advice that you just gave all of us. Tell me what we're seeing here. This is one of your pages.
Which one are you looking at? My 47% of millennials?
No, I'm looking at this in the end.
My next one down all my pages. Well, it's just a really good, for me, I thought it was a really good reflection of showing lifestyle, because what's extremely important today, and I don't think it's just in my area, and again, when I say my area in Los Angeles, it's everything from Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Brentwood, Santa Monica, Malibu. It runs the gamut, but it's a completely different customer. One thing that is consistent throughout is lifestyle, and that's what I really sell, and that's my blog is even Cindy Ambio Lifestyle. So I think that it's extremely important to any agent when you are posting, post lifestyle that you connect to, that you think your consumer connects to. What are you selling? What do you think is going to draw attention? What do you think is going to make them want to engage with you? So we'll post things that are out of the ordinary. Look what this home has, and I won't post something ever that just says, look at the dining room table. Instead, as Vivian said earlier, it needs to be something to encourage engagement. It'll be something more along the lines to have them connect. Can't you imagine having a beautiful holiday dinner in this room? And it emotionally appeals to them, and then they want to engage. And as Vivian said again, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because now you have the interaction, and now you have a relationship, and it all starts right here. If you see at the top, I think this was just from this week. It's 27,000 followers that I have organically. Never purchased a follower. It doesn't serve the purpose. It doesn't help anyone. I don't have an ego about it where I need to say, oh, look at all these followers. I do it authentically and from my heart. I want to have these real followers so that we can engage, and that's what I think we've been able to establish, and this page is a really nice example of that.
I love that. I love it. So how do you differentiate yourself? How do you look different than everybody else who's trying to do similar things?
I think it probably goes back to what I was saying a minute ago about being an open book, and I think with that comes trust. I recently at our office meeting, one of our founders asked me in front of everybody, said, Cindy, can you speak up about your success? Can you say maybe the top 3 things that you feel are the top 3 reasons that you have been as successful as you have? And I said, yes, trust, trust, and trust. Those were my others were also social media, but it was really trust, and it has to come from that. I think that when you have the social media platform, it allows people, like I said, to get to know you and to feel that they know you and feel that they can connect to you and that they like you and that you're sincere and that you're genuine and you actually exist, and oh, look at her family. Oh, she also likes this. There are things in common. And I think that completely sets me apart, because with each of us, we're all different. We all live different lives, but it allows somebody to know my life, and it allows my business and myself to stay relevant to the market. And the people who will connect with me, they call me. I sold a really nice, close to $10 million property in Beverly Hills this spring, and it came from social media. And it came from the clients. They were domestic, they were in Texas, and they relocated, but they said, we loved your social media and we felt like we could trust you. We've been working with other agents. We really felt like we got to know you. We felt that we could trust you. I had never met them. They showed up to one of my open houses. I wasn't expecting them, and that's what they told me, and I ended up taking them out, and we closed on a significant deal in the spring. So I think it sets, don't be afraid to set yourself apart. Don't be afraid to stand out. It's hugely important.
That's so true. I love creating an unfair competitive advantage, and I think that trust is, I agree with you 100% that that is the most important thing that we have, and we have to let people know that they can get to know us, and as they get to know you, that trust begins to build. I call it BRT, or building relationships with trust. So this is a page where you've put a property up there, lots of likes, lots of engagement, including from other agents. Tell us your strategy on this photo.
Well, the reason I thought this was important is this was a property I had off market. And you can see there were 78 likes just immediately after putting it on, and it wasn't even marketed in the MLS, and there are agents, local agents, and you can see in the feed there's local agents who didn't even know that it was for sale, but through social media they found out that it was for sale, and I ended up selling this home for $250,000 over asking. And the social media engagement was so instrumental in that. So again, we talked about when we pick pictures even for the Instagram, and Vivian and I speak so much about this, it's not random. We're very mindful of what message am I trying to send out to the market regarding this property. Well, right now here in LA, mid-century is extremely current. People want it. People want the one story. They want the views. And I felt this photo would help to capture all of that and really check the boxes for so many of the buyers. And sure enough, when we posted it, agents all came. I ended up with 7 offers on this property.
And that's awesome. I love the quote, someday isn't one of them.
It's not one of them. I have my foot on the gas pretty much 24/7, and I'm not letting off anytime soon. And I you know, hard work pays off, and I think that's proven, you know, in every industry. But I really do encourage other agents to sit up and pay attention to social media and to work hard at understanding it. And if you don't, then have somebody who's going to work right alongside of you who does understand it to guide you through it, like Vivian has with me. There's huge payoff to it, huge payoff, not just financially, but again with the lifestyle and the people that I've come to know and the people who've felt safe coming up to me and talking to me and getting to know me because they felt like they already knew me. I have people coming up saying, oh my gosh, I love those vacation pictures. So I just feel that 7 days a week, truly 7 days a week, put yourself out there. Don't stop. Just put yourself out there, set your goals, encourage others to do the same.
So how often do you post? That's a question that's coming up a lot on my message board.
Well, we post every day. We post every day, sometimes twice a day, sometimes more. Vivian can probably answer to that too, because she and I will sometimes both be sneaking things in, but definitely we post every day. I have something I want to say every day. And whether
I can tell you, sorry, Cindy, I'm jumping in here. We post at least once a day on Cindy's Instagram, 5 to 8 times a day on her Facebook, and 10 to 12 times a day on Twitter. And then we pin probably 60 things a week.
Which is fantastic. And then what Vivian also gives me is she will actually give me a breakdown of how my numbers did. And when I posted something, how did my market respond? And then and I listen. I listen to the market. And then that guides me on what I choose to do next, to reach out to them and have them want to engage back with me. So it's, again,
really
it's
interesting.
Yeah, it's a whole new way of doing it. And it's so extremely important. It's important to our business and to other businesses, and it sounds so much more confusing than it is. It's fun. It's really fun to share your story and have people share it back.
One of the things that a lot of people struggle with is whether or not it's okay to have somebody else posting on your behalf because it may not be as authentic. How has that worked for you, and what's the relationship between you and Houndstooth or Vivian's company?
Oh, we do. There isn't anything posted that I don't know about. I mean, we pick the content together. Vivian will call me and she'll say, Cindy, what do you have coming up this week? I'll say, I'm doing an open house at this house, this house, this house. I'm doing a caravan here. Also, we're about to engage in PS Arts, which is one of our big fundraisers. And so she and I together, we create the content. So I wouldn't advise anybody to be hands-off. You have to be hands-on. I create the content. Vivian is just beautifully instrumental in getting it out there properly and helping me with that. But there isn't anything going out that I'm not aware of, that I haven't been a part of. It comes from me. It's of me.
That's really good insight, that you're directly involved in it. You're not necessarily manually doing all the posts. You're just driving the content and the content solution, which I think is just absolutely critical.
It is critical. I agree completely. Otherwise, like, we keep using the word authentic, but I don't think it can be used enough. It has to be authentic of me, my lifestyle, my family, my business, my point of view, my approach to business, my approach to clients. That's the message I have to get out, and it has to reflect and represent me. Not Vivian, not anybody else. It has to represent me. I am my product. I am marketing myself, correct? So, I mean, I am the product. I have to get the message out clearly, who I am, so people can feel they know me. It wouldn't serve me to not be a part of it and have somebody else do it. Vivian is just brilliant at doing it much more efficiently than I am, and she's so much smarter about social media in general, and she just guides me, and I tell her what I want to say and how I want to say it, and she's just terrific at making me look good.
I appreciate that. On the screen, everybody, you can see that you can, Vivian provided for us from Hound Media Group, Best Practices Social Media for Real Estate White Paper that we're going to make available to you. Go to the workmansuccess.com/social media link. You'll be able to download not only a recorded session of this webinar, but also the Best Practices Social Media from Vivian. And real quick, just before everybody wraps up and hangs up, there's a ton of questions. If you guys don't mind hanging on with us for a couple minutes, we'll see if we can get to a few of the questions. Bob and Andrew, do you have any specific questions you'd like to jump in and ask either of our guests?
I don't have any questions, but I got to tell you, this has been some great information, because as a homes.com rep, we do a lot of social media instruction. We have some products, and I'm out there every day talking to brokers and agents about social media, and I got to tell you, my eyes roll back in my head when I try to tell. I got my real estate license in Georgia in 1985, and the Rolodex was my life. And now I call Facebook a Rolodex on steroids. And I just tell them, you just don't believe what social media will do for you. You've got to get involved with it. And they just kind of like, sometimes they just don't get it.
May I interject on that? May I interject
Please.
on that? Something that's extremely important to also share is, and we didn't discuss it with my slide, is the branding and the importance of the branding that comes with that. So as a realtor, and you can express it to them, they're each their own brand. Yes, they have the brokerage that they work under, but they're their own brand. And the only way to really share their brand and who they are and how they set themselves apart and differentiate themselves from others is to let everyone out there see their individual brand and to get to know them. And people follow brands, and Vivian and I have had many conversations about this, whether it's a brand, they have to wear a certain shoe or clothing. We're now finding, no, they're following brands of people, individuals. Look at celebrities and look at turn on any TV show. It's branding. And so this is giving your agents the opportunity to brand themselves and to set themselves apart. And that maybe they'll understand it more from the branding standpoint.
Yeah, I think to add to all of this is that it's, all of the sites that we've been talking about is about building relationships with people that you haven't met yet, letting them identify with who you are and what it would be like to work with you. And also, one of the things I think that we didn't talk about this a lot, but using your social media and your content to keep in touch with, people that you've done business with. Maybe one question that I would ask you, Vivian, is, how often are you using this content kind of as a proactive way of keeping in touch with past clients?
That one would actually be a question more for Cindy, but it allows for her to potentially create more clients. So on the front end, it's introducing her to more people.
I mean, for me to follow up with people, to follow up with old clients? Oh, it's wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, it's wonderful. I can search their name in the bar, and I can see everything that they're doing. I can see, which is a good thing. Like I can say, oh my gosh, their kids are now going to the same school my children have gone to, and I can pick up the phone and call them. I just saw that you registered at so-and-so. You're going to love it. Let me share it with you. It allows you again to reconnect, to re-engage. It's to have something in common.
And something to think about too with regard to creating content in the form of blog posts or sharing accomplishments that have gone on. Cindy has a newsletter that goes out, once a week, and that goes to her email base, and that's a way to continue to provide value to her clients even when they're not in the market for a home at the moment. She's still staying on their radar because it's like, here's this great information, let me give it to you.
That's terrific. Thank you.
Such phenomenal things. Let me just get one parting thought from each one of you as we wrap up today. On behalf of RISMedia and Homes.com and Outbound Engine, Workman Success Systems, thank you so much. This could easily be a 2-hour webinar. There's so much great information that both of you have to share. So Vivian, you first, if there's one thing that you would encourage all of our listeners that are on the call today to do, what's the one thing that will make the biggest impact in their social strategy?
To start doing it if they haven't until already, but the number one thing is to be yourself. You cannot be all things to all people, and you shouldn't try because you're going to wind up being not much of anything to anyone. Be yourself, be authentic, and post what you know and what you care about. Share a little bit of personal stuff. It's how would you act socially? That's how you should be online.
That's awesome. And Cindy, how about you? If there's one thing that you would get people, that you tell people that if you just did this, that would make a great impact, what's your one thing?
I echo what Vivian said, and I echo Nike. Just do it. Really, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Once you begin, you'll see, oh gosh, this is actually fun. This is not so hard. And you'll be so surprised at the feedback. You'll be so surprised at the engagement. And you'll start to understand it once you begin to do it. And again, stay authentic, stay true to your message. And just get it out there. People will love to know really who you are. Again, it creates trust, which creates business. You can't pretend it's not happening. It's happening, and it's actually fantastic.
Well, I hope everybody can see why I was so excited to share this content with you and to introduce these exceptional, successful women in business to the entire group. Thank you, ladies, for being part of our webinar today. It's been fun working with you, and I look forward to having an ongoing relationship. On behalf of RISMedia, our great sponsors, Homes.com, Outbound Engine, thanks for being here, and we'll talk to you on next month's Best Agent webinar. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye now.